The following is a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network.
Well, hello again, sports fans, and welcome to Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio here on High School Game Day, presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Dope Propane, Chevy dealers of the Ozarks, the Bank of Billings, and Great Southern Bank. And certainly glad that you have tuned in here, and wherever you may be headed tonight for your game of the week. We'll talk about several of the games going on across the state of Missouri. But thanks for tuning in. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. Been a year since we've kind of put this group together. We have a new member of the group, but we'll go around the room. Ladies first, Bailey Harbert, former sports director at KODE and KSN, now a member of the Lindbergh Flyers staff. And Bailey, thanks for being on the air.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. And friend of the show, managing editor of PrepsKC.com, Mr. Dion Caliso. And Dion, thanks for being part of it.
It's always fun to come on. It's a really good time just to be able to talk high school football.
You bet. And our newest member, the new director, new sports director at KOD, KSN, Max Preston. Max, hey, thanks for this was a short notice deal. I just reached out to you today. Thanks to Bailey, but we're certainly glad you're here.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be here. Glad you reached out to me today.
You bet. And we'll start up in the Kansas City area, and you know, some great teams up there. You got Smithville, the defending state champion, who apparently is not getting any love in the standings here. They're still 2 behind St. Mary's in the rankings, but they've got a big game with an undefeated Kearney team that's really gotten 2 huge wins to start the season off.
Yeah, and that's really not really a shocker. I think that we knew that Kearney was going to be better. They were a 5-5 team last year, but they get an overtime win over Platte County in week 1. Then they just kind of step on Fort Osage last week, and I think Fort Osage is a really good football team. They were in the semifinals last year, overturned almost everybody. They ran an onside kick to start that game and never really looked back. And Logan Minnick came over from Raytown. He used to be on the Kearney staff about 7 years ago. He's come back to take over that program, and really they knew they had a good group of juniors coming through, and they're kind of maybe a little ahead of schedule, but they're playing as good a football as anybody. Smithville, they're still winning games. They're not winning them like they did last year. They won a 3-point over Platte County last week. They beat Raytown by 16 in week 1. So I think they're probably ripe for the picking. I think that streak may come to an end, and that's our big, Class 4 game up here. And then you've got Rockhurst and Liberty North. Liberty North dominated Lee Summit North in week 1, even though it was 17-7. It was 17-0 most of that game. And then they hammered Liberty last week. Rockhurst lost to Ray-Peck in week 1, but bounced back with a win over Blue Spring South last week. And this is a Rockhurst team loaded with juniors. So they may be this time next year the team to look for, but right now this is Liberty North.
So what makes Liberty North so good? I know they're seeing a lot of number 1 rankings in the state. Are they senior dominated? They got a great running game, passing game.
Well, they're kind of junior senior dominated. They brought back 9 off their defense, which was really good last year, including Melvin Laster. Their outstanding junior linebacker, who is, you name the school, they want him. You can start with the A's and go with Alabama and go down from there. They bring back Sam Van Dyne, who was a Simone Award finalist, which is our award for the best player in the Kansas City Metro at quarterback. They bring back several receivers. The biggest question mark was their offensive line. They had 4 new starters there, but they seem to have done a pretty good job of replacing them. And that's where Greg Jones was the last 5 years. And he took off and went to Oregon with Dan Lanning, who he coached when he was in high school, and left it to his defensive coordinator, Andy Learman. So there's really no blips on the radar. They're just kind of rolling. Pure talent-wise, Lee Summit North probably has more high-end college players than Liberty North, but right now Liberty North's the best team that's out there. They're playing the best.
You bet. And Bailey, we can't go on without talking about your alumnus school. Nevada is now state ranked, and it's been a long time since you've seen something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing what's happening in Nevada. I mean, just a few years ago, seeing the games that they were playing and seeing them struggle. I mean, those young kids that were playing varsity, as freshmen, they're all grown up now. and they're playing pretty well. It's kind of incredible to see, a number next to their name. And, as an alum, that does make me pretty proud. Got a pretty big win over, granted, it was Newton, but, when you shut out, a team anytime like that and you put a lot of points on the board, that's always a good thing. And not just that, but, they were doing it through the air, which, if you know Wes Beechler, he's all about the run. So when you have 5 passing touchdowns in a game, something's going on. So, Nevada's offense is just loaded this year, which hasn't always been the case, as we know. So, they have so many weapons that I think defenses are having a really hard time kind of preparing for what they can do. So, yeah, it's been incredible. They got a big win yesterday, get a Friday night off kind of to see what everybody else is doing. So, yeah, I'm a very proud alum right now. Shout out to the Nevada Tigers.
Well, he's just giving Coach Beechler more film that he has to watch. You can't just, plan for 6 plays, that Beechler used to run when he was, at Nevada and in the Republic, and then, spent the time at Parkview. But and Max Preston, you're in that area as well, but probably the biggest game probably in the state is Nick's at Carthage.
100%. That's a great matchup tonight. Carthage, number 1, I would say right now in Class 5. People want to say, Webb City's number 1 until proven otherwise. And I have all the respect in the world for Webb City, and they can turn it on in the postseason just like that. But right now, what Carthage has done, especially Luke Gall and that offensive line. Luke Gall's I wouldn't call it 2 games. 4 quarters of play, he scored 11 touchdowns. It's not 2 games. He hadn't played the second half yet. He might play a second half tonight against Nixa, because that Nixa team is very good. But Luke Gall is going to have something to say about it tonight. Nixa is going to be every bit as challenging. Nixa is a very good team, number 4 right now in Class 6. They've got a stellar quarterback, 3, 4 options he can go to. That one, I want to say at least 2 of them are Division I caliber as far as wide receiver, and their defense is good as well. It's just going to be an incredible matchup, because when you look at Carthage, they got plenty of junior, senior leadership guys that know the role or know the way and know how to play. And then Nixon's got the same thing as well. So, it's going to be a clash night. What is it? Unstoppable force meets a immovable object tonight. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, and Luke Gall may be the best two-way player, or among the best two-way players in the state. And, if he's coming around the corner with the football and you're between him and the goal line, you're going to have to make a business decision. Am I going to try and tackle this guy?
Do I want to keep my head? Do I not want to get concussed or anything?
Right.
He's a guy, I like to always say, he's a guy where I'm either going to score or I'm going to get 10 yards before you tackle me. That's all there is to it. And he's that's Luke Gall right there. He's tough football. He's grinded out football, especially with that offensive line, and no one's going to tackle that guy until he gets what he wants, either gets the yardage he wants.
Yeah. Well, and Bailey, you've not been in the St. Louis area but maybe 90 days, but heck, you go up there and Lindbergh's 2-0.
Yeah, they are. It's awesome. And what's crazy about it is that they've been underdogs in both of their games, and maybe not so much against Ladue, but definitely in the first game against Chaminade. Seeing people, I'm not super familiar with it yet, but most people had said they were the underdogs and that they were, being picked to lose the game. And then actually an account I follow picked them to win tonight, which kind of makes me nervous, because now they've picked against Lindbergh. And now I'm kind of afraid that they've maybe jinxed it, and now we're going to lose tonight. They play Fox, which is a team that last year, Lindbergh beat them by just a point. So I'm predicting a pretty good game. But yeah, they've kind of surprised a lot of people, and maybe this is me again being a little bit of a homer now that I'm a Flyer. But I think they're a little bit underrated. So I think if they get a nice win in this game, I think more people are probably going to start paying attention to them. And I'm starting to learn a little bit more about, football in the St. Louis area, just how incredibly talented so many of the players are. It's insane how good they are over here in St. Louis, and, learning about CBC and SLU and DeSmet and Marquette and all of the big powerhouse schools that are doing really well here. And, unsurprisingly, they're doing pretty well, even though DeSmet 0-2, but, they've played some insanely good teams. So, yeah, I'm kind of getting the hang of it. But, I think, like I said, if Lindbergh gets a win tonight, I think people are going to maybe start focusing on them a little bit. They're still a pretty young team, and obviously the season's still young, but we're pretty excited over here in St. Louis.
Hey, they win tonight, you may get a contract extension, after week 3. But
yeah, fingers crossed.
Dion, as you look around the state, and there's been a lot made of Aeneas Williams at Hannibal. He's got the offer from USC. He's the number 1 recruited running back in the country in his class. And who are some of the other athletes, and maybe just specific to your area, but that really stand out? I mean, Kevin Emanuel at Eureka had him on. He was an athlete of the week a week ago. You've got the kid at Blair Oaks, and we're going to hear from him later in the show. But I know it's a D2 or D2. It's a Class 2 school. They dropped down from Class 3 a year ago, and they lost in the state championship a year ago. The problem is now they dropped down with Lamar in that, and that's something that maybe that's not so good. But who are some of the other kids maybe that just have really stood out through the first couple of weeks?
Well, a guy who's stood out in the first couple of weeks, and he's 1-1, and his team has scored 118 points, is Kendrick Bell from Park Hill. He's a quarterback. Ronnie Bell, who went to Michigan, who won the Simone Award. This is one of his little brothers. There's twins. They scored 50 last week and lost. Scored 68 the first week against Battle and won, but gave up 38. I mean, so they've got to figure out their defense. He's definitely been a guy to keep an eye on. Jaden Doss is the other from Ray Peck, the outstanding receiver. He's a Nebraska commit. He had touched the ball 5 times last week, had 4 touchdowns. And part of the reason why Park Hill lost is on the final play, they had like 3 to 4 guys following Doss. And meanwhile, there was a guy wide open without anybody within 30 yards of a circle around him in the end zone, fair catching the touchdown for, a 30-yard touchdown for the win. So those are 2 guys that played in that game last week that I think a lot of people were talking about and then there's like Laster's probably the biggest recruit. And then the other guy, if you want to throw in some offensive lineman, Caden Green from Lee Summit North is definitely a guy. And then we've got 3 defensive linemen who've got pretty good commits. Shandavian Bradley of Platte County is committed to Tennessee. Edric Hill from North Kansas City is committed to Alabama. And PJ Adebayo from North Kansas City, they both play together, is committed to Oklahoma. So we've got some defensive linemen around here. But if you look at what the Kansas City area has produced, we got a quarterback in the NFL, but and maybe another one in Graham Mertz coming. But there's a lot of guys that played defensive line or linebacker in the Metro in the last decade that are out in the NFL right now.
Outstanding. And as we go around, kind of around the state in your particular areas, is there a team that you feel like has got, maybe more than one team, got a great opportunity to come out and win the biggest trophy on the last day of the season?
Well, I think East St. Louis has got a pretty good, they're just so good. Honestly, they're incredible. Just constantly in the top 10 in the nation. I would say they're probably our best bet. If you're looking at Missouri, I don't know. I guess I still need to kind of get acquainted with some schools and some teams. But would it be weird if I said Lindbergh? No, I'm kidding, obviously. No, I think, obviously East St. Louis, they're insanely good. I think they've got a pretty good shot.
Dion, what about your area?
Well, I think it's Liberty North, Lee Summit North. But really, Ray Peck and Rockhurst are going to have a lot to say with it. Ray Peck and the district that has Lee Summit North, Ray Peck, and Nixa is really strong. And so that's going to be one to keep an eye on. Only one team's coming out of that. And then Rockhurst and Liberty North are in the other district. They are on the opposite side, and the Liberty North district matches up with CBC. So you don't know if you would get all of those, both of the Kansas City teams are into the state championship game. But no, it's definitely those teams right there. I think Fort Osage, I would have said that before last week. They have a chance too. They've got a good run, but they've got to figure. They were real sloppy in week 1 when they beat Green Valley, and they didn't really clean that up. And Kearney took advantage of it. And then I'd say Kearney, Smithville in Class 4 are 2 teams. I got a dark horse for you if they can stay healthy. Center in Class 4.
Right.
They've got 1 to 22. They've got as good athletes as anybody in the city. But the problem is they only go to like 35 and 22 to 35. And so when you don't have that many players, your guys got to play 4 quarters no matter what. They've had 2 blowouts, and their guys have to be out there. That last year they were really good in Class 3. Quarterback and tailback got hurt. They get beat. It's that they probably would have been running deep last year. So their biggest thing is staying healthy, but that's kind of a dark horse in Class 4.
And Max, here in Southwest Missouri, extreme Southwest Missouri, you've got a lot of options too.
Oh, absolutely. And I wanted to add to that. Class 6 is actually absolutely incredible. I mean, I'd like to say that Joplin would add something to that, but I don't think when it comes to the competition at the top of Class 6, I don't think Joplin is really going to make it out of their district. I think they might make it to the district championship again, but like I said, Lee Summit's North, very talented. They're probably going to win that one again. When you go down the list, I mean, Webb City and Carthage, I mean, it's going to come down to like it did last year in Class 5 in that district right there, the championship game. I said whoever's going to win that district championship between Webb and Carthage is going to win state. And sure enough, Webb City came out of it and they won state. And I think that's probably going to be the same thing this year, either Carthage or Webb City. And we'll see if one of them wins state, but I'm very confident one of them will win state again this year. We look at Nevada and Lamar. I think Nevada's definitely closed the gap a lot more. I think that Lamar-Nevada game will be a lot closer than people would like to think. I'm not ready to say, sorry, Bailey, I'm not ready to say Nevada's going to win the game yet, but I mean, we'll see. It's going to be a lot better of a game than it usually is, I think, Lamar and Nevada. But and between those two, that's going to be a tough game. You got Lamar coming out of Class 2. I mean, I don't see anybody else making state besides Lamar. Who knows if they'll win it or not, but I say they're going to state. When you look around, like if you want to be a dark horse, Seneca this year has been very, very talented. Who knows the talent exactly that they've played, but I mean, they're hanging like 50, 60 on these guys, and they're looking good, and they're a team that has a lot of returners back, and Seneca looks to be a very talented squad that we have this year, and we're looking forward to what they can do this year.
You know, and here in this area, you look at the Ozark Conference, and you know half that conference either got ranked or received votes. You know, Glendale's a team that's very hard to prep for. They've got probably the best quarterback that Mike Malk has had. The others have been, I mean, Alex Houston put up stupid numbers when he was there. But this Cole Fuhrmeyer, you know, in the backfield, now they get beat, you know, late last week by West Plains. You had a Kickapoo team that comes in with the largest numbers of returners, the best group that Nate Thomas has had. You know, then they kind of give one away against Camden, who could be considered a dark horse. It's Jeff Shore's last year. He's already announced it, you know, at Camdenton that it's going to be his last year as the head coach there. They're 2-0 in the conference, but they're in that Class 5 with the likes of Lebanon, you know, and Webb City and Carthage, you know, and that's going to be a tough road to hoe there. So Marionville in Class 2, Thayer's down a little bit. They, you know, their legendary head coach, he retired, so Thayer's a little bit down. That's who they kind of bumped heads with. You know, between them and maybe a Fairgrove or Skyline, but Fairgrove lost a lot off of their team a year ago with their well-coached. Skyline lost their coach and a lot of players. So it's still kind of up in the air here. Who's gonna really step up and maybe take the reins over for, you know, right here, you know, Southwest Missouri, not extreme Southwest where Max is, but, you know, right here, you know, in this area. Mount Vernon is a team that's 2-0 now that was 1-10 last year, but they started.
They've switched around for sure.
Yeah, they started 8 freshmen a year ago, and their quarterback Johnston, I can't think of his first name. I want to say Gage, but that's not right. But you know, he's just a sophomore. His dad is the defensive coordinator and been a long-time coach there at Mount Vernon, and he was a former quarterback at Mount Vernon who was very successful. So they're young. Maybe not this year, but maybe a couple of years from now. But outside of that, not really much going on. I know, you know, volleyball's going strong. You've got and Bailey. You've got you've seen a little bit there at Lindbergh. You've got one of the more talented players in the state.
Yeah, Megan Minaj, who I've actually had the pleasure of meeting several times. Now we did a story on her. Her first day of school, she put a GoPro on, and we followed her around. She's a great person, great kid, very talented middle hitter. She's verbally committed to play at Wash U here in St. Louis. Yeah, she's insanely talented. And I think, again, you know, obviously St. Louis loaded as far as volleyball goes. But again, you know, Lindbergh's always kind of sneaky good at stuff like that. So I think they're a team to kind of keep an eye on. And yeah, obviously with Megan Minaj, she's insanely good.
Well, I got to give Bailey the award for the greatest gifts in the world. You put that GIF out this morning. I think that's called a GIF. Is that all right?
Yeah, or a GIF, depending on. You're wrong if you say GIF, but yeah, you can say that.
Okay. Well, I don't even know. I don't even know how to do it. But that was classic. But
thank you. I appreciate that.
Dion, anything else?
No, just ready for another. Weather. I'm gonna jinx it. We haven't had any rain here, especially on the south side of Kansas City, in about 6-8 weeks. Everything's brown and crusty, but that means games start on time and they end on time. And there's no thunderstorms. So hopefully we will go a few more weeks without that, and we can cruise into fall without the thunderstorm nights. So that's always the bane of my existence, the rolling stoppages and starts of games, and so that's hopefully we can keep the weather away.
All right, Max, any last words?
Yeah, nothing. But I'm ready for tonight. I'm ready. I just can't wait to see the outcome of the Carthage Nixa game. I'm on the edge of my seat for it. I'm ready tonight.
You bet. Well, Bailey, Dion, Max, I greatly appreciate you guys being part of the show, and we're going to take a quick timeout and slide these guys off into the green room. You're more than welcome to stay and watch. We come back, we're going to hear from our Chevrolet Athletes of the Week, one from Blair Oaks and Dylan Hare, who set the all-time career total yards mark at 12,619, I believe. So a lot of yards for that young man. But we'll come back, we'll hear from him, and we'll go down to Forsyth and hear from a young man, Zach Strahan, who had 6 catches for 197 yards and 10 rushes for 319 yards. My math isn't good, but he had 3 touchdowns and a lot of yards receiving. And so we're looking forward to that. So stay tuned. You're listening and watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
All right, here we go.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective, and find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
And as promised, here's the interview with Dylan Hare, our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective, and find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
Well, hello once again, friends and family from across the state of Missouri. Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio here on the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Presented by Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, Central Bank of the Ozarks, Doak Propane, Great Southern Bank, the Bank of Billings, Shelter Insurance, and the Missouri State Highway Patrol, who reminds us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Labor's Local 663, we go to Blair Oaks High School and head football coach Ted LePage and our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week, quarterback Dylan Hare. Coach LePage, thanks for your guys' time this morning.
Appreciate you having us.
Coach, first off, let's talk a little bit about the season up to this point. You guys are 2-0. You finished 9-3 a year ago. The roster looks full, but maybe only 10 or 12 seniors on the roster.
We're predominantly still a junior team. Last year we were mostly a sophomore team, but Dylan and there's several seniors that lead by example have done a great job. Dylan, of course, is going to be a 4-year starter for us, and we have 3 young men that are going to be 3-year starters for us. So our senior class is really strong in talent, not large in numbers, but we like what we've seen so far. Maryville and Luther North, 2 predominant powers, being able to come to that 2-0 with guys like Dylan lead us is sure got a good start for our season.
Yeah, you go from Class 3 down into Class 2, and a lot of times that'd be great news, but there's a lot of good Class 2 teams.
Well, anywhere you play, you're going to play great teams, and that's what we try to do. We didn't know we were going to be going Class 3. We had the largest senior class we'd ever had in Blair Oaks last year, and only had 5 seniors on the team play football. So we lost about 20 kids off of our school attendance, so that put us back down. We were the smallest Class 3 for 2 consecutive years. So I guess now we're one of the bigger Class 2s, but that doesn't matter. We're going to play whoever's in front of us. And our motto for this year is just go 1-0 every week. And I think Dylan kind of said that last year in December. We're going to go 1-0 every week. So that's all we worry about.
Well, tell us a little bit about Dylan Hare. He's our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week, and he just became the all-time career leader in total offense at 12,614 yards. Tell us what makes this young man so special.
Well, he's got two older brothers that played for Blair Oaks and were extremely successful. Great family. His dad runs our Junior Falcons program. Scott Hare, his mom's heavily involved. But just a humble, good, hardworking family that likes to be involved in their kids' lives. And Dylan had a brother Nolan Hare that starts up at Truman now. And Nolan played for me when we won the state title in 2018. Extremely talented young man. And Dylan was around a lot. He was in 8th grade. And in between his 8th grade and freshman year, we had two quarterbacks vying for his quarterback spot. And then there's a little freshman came up, and we scrimmaged CBC during the summer that year. And Dylan kind of led the team better than anybody else. And it was a wake-up call for all of us that he's a freshman, but he can do this. Extremely talented, but more importantly, extremely humble and hardworking. Wants the best for the team, which is rare in this day and age. But he excelled as a freshman. Sophomore year was Player of the Year in Class 3 in the state of Missouri. Won state title as quarterback. Last year went 9-3. Season didn't end the way he wanted to. He's had an incredible offseason. He can throw it as well as he runs it, but he runs it better than he throws it. So if you can make anything out of that, he's pretty talented. But the biggest thing he does is he gets his teammates involved. I always say a great quarterback is never as good as what they make the other players around them. And it's very, very few and far between that I've had guys make the other players raise their level of play the way he does when he's on the field.
Well, Dylan, first off, on behalf of the Missouri Sports Network and Chevrolet, congratulations on being named Male Athlete of the Week. And we appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
First off, did you have any idea that you were getting close to this milestone? Was someone in your ear saying, hey, you only need 30 more yards or 50 more yards, or do you have any idea?
No, I had no clue until the next day I saw it on Twitter.
Very good. That's kind of when I saw it. That's when I became aware of it. And so 12,614 yards. Do you remember going back to your freshman year? Do you remember maybe that first touchdown or that first big game you had?
Yeah, I remember, like Coach said, CBC. I mean, I kind of just went in there and played, and then, of course, playing Maryville, just went in there. And, I mean, I had all seniors and juniors around me, so they kind of led me there.
As you look back on the first two games this year, what are you and what is the team doing really well right now, early on in the season?
Well, I think it started in the off season and then just getting better every day at practice.
Do you have a particular play when it's called? Do you have you don't have to tell me what it is, but do you have a group of plays or your favorite play when it's called?
Yeah, I got a few of them.
You got a few of them?
Yeah.
If 2022 Dylan Hare could go back to that 2018, that freshman Dylan Hare, and give him some advice, what advice would you go back and give yourself as a freshman?
I'd probably say, just don't worry about it and go out there and play and have fun.
Were there games on your schedule this year you were looking particular forward to? I know you had a couple losses, regular season losses a year ago. Are those games maybe that you're looking forward to, or is it just whoever's next?
It's whoever's next. I mean, just week by week.
Now, I know that you've gotten a few offers at the college level. Do you have any idea maybe where you're leaning, and maybe even what area of study? What are you going to study? Do you want to be a coach? Do you want to be a business? What are you looking forward to?
I've decided right now, but I'm thinking more towards the sports medicine area.
Very good. Do you have family in that arena?
I think Nolan's going into it a little bit.
Very good. Very good. Well, Dylan, once again, on behalf of the Missouri Sports Network and Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, congratulations. And you've still got a lot of season to go. You can put that mark probably out there where it's going to be hard to get to.
Thank you.
You bet. Coach LePage, again, thank you so much for setting this up here for Dylan and for us. Again, congratulations to you as well. It takes someone's got to be pulling the strings, and obviously you've done an outstanding job with Dylan and that program, and we look forward to catching up to you down the season.
Well, thank you. You probably got Dylan to say more than he said all season. Dylan's not a man of many words, so for you to get a functional sentence out of him is truly remarkable.
Hey, it was an honor and a privilege, and if he decides to come this way, and I know his options are wide open, but we'll look forward to watching him, and best of luck as you go through the season, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again down the road.
Thank you.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, Blair Oaks head football coach Ted LePage and quarterback Dylan Hare, Chevrolets of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week, brought to you by Labor's Local 663. Keep it right here at the Missouri. Yeah, welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network here at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Just go through some of the games going on throughout the state this evening. At the upper classes, got Lee Summit at Blue Springs. Park Hill is at Blue Springs South. Both teams 1-1 on the season. Hickman is at Capital City. We talked about Nixa at Carthage. You've got DeSmet, who's 0-2, but that's a little bit deceptive, to say the least. They played IMG Academy out of Florida. I believe the other loss maybe at East St. Louis. They're playing Chaminade College Prep, who's 0-2 on the season. SLU, who is 0-2, they go to CBC 1-1. Kirkwood is at Eureka. Eureka 2-0. Last week we had Kevin Emanuel on and Coach Sumner on as part of the Athlete of the Week deal there. Marquette is at Hazelwood Central. Rittenhour at Ladue Horkins. Kickapoo is at Lebanon. Heard today that game was actually at Kickapoo, but I believe it's at Lebanon. Kickapoo 1-1, and going into the season, maybe a favorite, one of the favorites in the Ozark Conference, and Lebanon, who's always one of the favorites there in the Ozark Conference. Staley is at Lee Summit North. Rockhurst is at Liberty North. Fox is at Lindbergh. Joplin 2-0 is at Ozark. Lee Summit West is at Park Hill South. Liberty is at Ray-Pec, and that'll be a battle. Liberty coming in at 1-1. Ray-Pec 2-0. Jeff City is at Rockbridge. Both teams 1-1 there, and Hannibal is at Troy Buchanan. Timberland is at Vianney. As you go down into some of the smaller classes, Bishop DeBerg is at Afton. Winnetonka is at Excelsior Springs. Both teams going into that game are 0-2. Hillsboro and Fort Zumwalt West, both teams there 2-0. Raytown South is at Grandview. Farmington is at Jackson. Smithville is at Kearney. Both teams there 2-0 and members of the same district. Class 4 District 8. Sykeston is at Kennett. Savannah is at Kirksville. Monette is at Lamar. Pembroke Hill at Lincoln College Prep. McDonald County at Logan Rogersville. And that's a game that could be a really good game. McDonald County, obviously very successful a year ago. Logan Rogersville, I think, is maybe on the rise a little bit there. Hollister is at Marshfield. Marshfield's 0-2 on the season, but don't let that sway you. Marshfield's got a very good quarterback. They've got good skilled guys. They've just had a tough first two games, including a Lamar team early on here in week one. Carl Junction is at Neosho. Both teams 1-1. St. Mary's out of St. Louis, Class 4, District 2. They're the number one ranked team in Class 4. Number one ranked team there. They're at Naquan Valley, Illinois, and Naperville, Illinois. Nevada already with a win in the Big 8 Conference. They're now 68-0 over East Newton a night ago. DeSoto is at North County. Bolivar's at Parkview, a couple of Ozark Conference teams that are both 0-2 and need a win there. Bolivar Class 4, Parkview Class 5. St. Vincent's at Perryville. Marshall is at Richmond. Jeff City is at Columbia Rockbridge. Pacific is at St. Clair. Sullivan is at Union. Getting down into the Class 1 schools, 1 and 2. And again, the Friday night football scoreboard show coming up at 9:30, and we'll have all the scores for you there, and maybe even hear from some coaches again this week. Getting down into the Class 2, Ash Grove 1-1 on the season, and they will be hosting Stockton. And one of the bigger rivalries in the state. We'll see Mount Vernon at 2-0 going to a winless Aurora, and you can throw the records out when those two meet. Mountain Grove is at Ava. Both teams there, Ava just fell out of the state rankings, but they weren't a part of it in week one. Osage is at Blair Oaks, and St. Mary's Academy out of Kansas is at Bowling Green. Willow Springs is at Kabul. Both teams 1-1. Kabul had a good showing a week ago there with Skyline. Seneca is at Cashville. Both teams 2-0 there. That should be an exciting game. Class 2, Seneca at Class 3, Cashville. Both teams 2-0. Forsyth is at Clever. And speaking of Forsyth, we'll play an interview that we did earlier today with another Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, Zach Strahan, and his head coach, Chris Conley.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective. And find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
Hey, hello again, sports fans, and welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio and presented, as always, by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, Great Southern Bank, Doak Propane, Pizza Ranch located in Springfield, Missouri, with 7 locations across the state. Shelter Insurance, Labor's Local 663, and the Bank of Billings, established 1889, the oldest bank in Christian County. We go down south to Forsyth High School, and head football coach Chris Conley. Coach Conley, thanks for being part of the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited about it.
Coach, 1-1 on the season. Tell us about how the season's gone thus far in a very young Forsyth program.
Yeah, it is a young program, and I think we're starting to get people and the school excited about football. But yeah, a solid start to the season. 1-1 right now. Started off real strong on the road versus El Dorado Springs, and really got some things rolling there. And Zach was a big part of that. And then we took one on the chin versus Buffalo this last week on the road, and it was a pretty good football game. Zach had a heck of a game here and did a really good job keeping us in it for about as long as we could. And then Buffalo pulled away a little bit at the end, but we got a very talented young team, and Zach's one of the few seniors we got. That's a heck of a football player and does good each and every week.
Coach, tell us a little bit about, before we get to our Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week here, Zach Strahan, but tell us a little bit about your background, how you arrived at Forsyth, and where'd you go to high school and college?
Yeah. All right, man. Sounds good. So I'm actually from Jefferson City, Missouri. I'm an old Jaybird. I played football and wrestled in high school there. And then I initially played football at William Jewell College there in Liberty, and that's where I started and whatnot. But I ended up transferring to University of Central Missouri, and that's where I graduated from there and whatnot. And then I began my coaching career. I started a year in Jeff City, and then I was at Knob Noster for about 5 years, and then head football coach at Sweet Springs. It's a small school up north, just west of Columbia on I-70. Was there for 6 years, and then down here for my third year down in Forsyth, and got the ball rolling down here with a great group of kids and whatnot. So.
What and Coach, I know we talked about being just 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What are the numbers like? You kind of break it down per class. I know you've got not a real big senior class, but a lot of underclassmen.
Yeah, we do. We have about 5 seniors on the football team, a good chunk of freshmen. We got about 10 freshmen, about 10 sophomores, and then about 7 or 8 juniors. So Just trying to get those guys, to stick with it and whatnot is, I think, kind of the key. So,
Well, the young man sitting to your right, Zach Strahan, 6 receptions, 257 yards, 10 rushes for 52 yards, 309 total yards, 3 touchdowns a week ago. Tell us a little bit about him and the position he plays and what makes him special.
Yeah, Zach, he plays our slot running back, which in our offense is perfect for him. I mean, Zach's a heck of a receiver out of the backfield, obviously. He's also a very talented runner with it, averaging over 5 yards a carry, in that game. And, we just try different ways to get Zach the ball, and he's got great hands. He's very fast. He sees a hole and he hits it in full stride and runs really tough. And he does a really good job for us, and we find ways to get him the ball. And he's a dual threat receiver, runner, and causes a lot of problems for other teams.
Well, Zach, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the Missouri Sports Network and Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, congratulations on being named a Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week. And Zach, tell us a little bit about the game last week. I mean, looking at the receptions, it's 43 yards a catch. What did you have? Obviously you had to have some big gains.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I got to give credit to my quarterback, Aaron. I mean, he's got an absolute cannon. He can sling it 60 yards when he needs to. So, I just make a read coming out of the backfield, and we've got good chemistry. We played together since we were both freshmen. Started that chemistry there with the deep ball, and it's just kind of carried over to now and just making big plays.
So when did you, and I know Forsyth, are you a lifer? Are you from Forsyth?
I'm actually from Kirbyville, which is neighbors to Forsyth, but we don't have a high school, so I came here my freshman year. So,
all right. So was that first year as a freshman? Was that your introduction to football?
Yeah. So I probably played like flag football when I was young, but I never really had an opportunity. And actually, my mom didn't let me play football until my freshman year. She still doesn't like me playing football, but I just kind of went with it and figured out I liked it and I was good at it. So I just kept on playing it.
Yeah. She's at all your games, though, I promise.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think she sits there with her eyes closed most of the time, but yeah, she's there.
All right, Zach, since your freshman year, is this a position that you've been playing at this running back position?
Yeah. So my freshman year, actually, we had a different coach. He's actually the head coach at Reed Spring this year. He was here for 1 year. So I started out playing a slot receiver. And then coach came along, and I kind of went from a wide receiver position to the slot position once we had guys move on and kind of filled that role, which is the slots being kind of the main part of our offense. So just, yeah.
And again, we're visiting with Zach Strahan from Forsyth High School, or Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks Athlete of the Week. And Zach, do you have that play when it comes into the huddle where your eyes kind of light up? Are you over there lobbying coach, hey, can you call this play? Can you call? And you don't have to tell me what it is.
Yeah.
Do you have that play?
Yeah. So we actually wear wristbands, and coach yells from the sideline, and we don't huddle. So yeah, there's times where I'm like, yeah, I know I'm getting the ball. So yeah, it's a good time. But.
All right. Well, again, Zach, on behalf of Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks and Missouri Sports Network, and congratulations. Best of luck. You guys taking on Clever tonight. What do you know about Clever?
They're newer than us as a program. I think they've had a couple rough years in the past, but so did we. And I mean, they're on the uphill climb, and we're gonna have to play good to shut them down. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you play any other sports?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm a starting point guard in basketball, and I play center field in baseball, which I plan to play baseball collegiately. So,
any particular area of study are you looking at, or are you just whoever's going to give you a scholarship?
Probably C of O. Yeah, he's giving me a scholarship offer to go play baseball at C of O. So
a little connection there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And my nephew actually plays at C of O.
Nice.
So
nice.
And really enjoys it. But again, Zach, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Back to Coach Conley. Coach, what do you feel like right now you're doing as a team? You're doing really well here 2 weeks into the season.
I'd say, offensively, we really hadn't been stopped a whole lot. We usually just, there's a few times in the game we had some penalties that kind of, stopped ourselves really, but offensively we're playing really well. And pretty balanced. I think first game, we relied on the run a lot. Second game, we still had about 150 rushing yards, but then we had, over 300 yards passing. So I think being really balanced, which I think leads to making us tough to stop. You can't just sell out on the run. You can't just, leave the box empty and sit on the pass. So I think having the athletes to be able to do that really makes us tough to defend.
You bet. Well, Coach, we appreciate you being generous with your time here on a game day. Zach, again, congratulations, and hopefully we'll get to visit down the road sometime.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Thanks
watching.
for having us on.
You're watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be.
Only Pizza Ranch serves buffet your way.
Don't you mean my way, Mr. Voiceover Guy?
Sure, anyone's way, actually. Request your favorite pizza. We'll make it, bake it, and give you the first slice.
I can add peppers to pepperoni, Stampede on stuffed crust, maybe Texan taco on thin. No tomatoes on my half. How can I convince Mom to let us eat here every night?
It's buffet your way at Pizza Ranch. Say it with me, kid.
Hey, welcome back to High School Game Day. High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com. Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, alongside, and we're going to say thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in. We want to say a special thanks to maybe Harbert, Lindbergh High School, Deion Clisso, getting together at editor at PrepKC.com, and Max Preston for making his debut here on High School Game Day, and he is the sports director at KODE and KSN. And for all the viewers, watchers, listeners, hey, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow, and actually be here at 9:30 tonight for Friday Night Football Scoreboard Show here on the Missouri Sports Network. Everybody, safe travels. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon.